All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to your second stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Today, this is your midday update. Over the past week, we have heard from our top negotiators, Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell. They have gone back and forth on things like unemployment benefits, state and local government funding, liability protections, and so much more. Now, we are getting word from many people, many senators, even our negotiators, that we are getting closer to a deal. It's coming down to the wire, and we are going to get something done very soon. They are just working on some last-minute issues. However, some of these issues are fairly important. Actually, they're extremely important, and they have to be met. These issues have to be met. We need to come to an agreement in order to get this package done. Before I get into what these last few negotiation issues or hurdles actually are, I first want to address the $1,200 stimulus checks and the $300 per week unemployment benefits, because this is what a lot of people are asking about. So in regards to the $1,200 stimulus checks, here's what I want to tell you. Many lawmakers are urging the rest of Congress to push and demand a larger stimulus check. $1,200 is just not enough. It will not cut it. We've been waiting for 8 months. The American people cannot survive off a $600 stimulus check. That's what's currently being said. However, right now, even though many senators, many representatives are asking for more, it does not look like this is even being considered. So all those people that are telling you a $2,400 stimulus check, a $2,000 stimulus check, a monthly recurring stimulus check, those are complete lies. That's not even being considered. The only thing being talked about right now is not even a $1,200 stimulus check from our leaders. That's being talked about from some other people, but not from the top leaders, the top Republicans and top Democrats. It's actually only $600 to $700. So let's break that down. Right now, the good news, based on what we're hearing, based on all the reports coming out today, is that all dependents, no matter their age, would receive a $600 to $700 stimulus check. Now, why is it $600 to $700? As far as the extra $100, the reason why they're throwing that in there is because, based on reports, again, until we get the final bill or we hear from Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell or even Steve Mnuchin as to what is currently being discussed, again, these are all reports and these things could change drastically in the matter of minutes. So what we know is that families, let me break it down a little bit easier, okay? First, let's talk about that, who's going to get the extra $100. Here's what we know. First, anybody can get a stimulus check, no matter the age. However, for people that have an ITIN number, who were previously, those families were excluded from getting a stimulus check. Based on reports, they would get a stimulus check for the family and their children as long as they have a social security number. But the individual with the ITIN number would be excluded. But the family as a whole would be included as one of the people that would receive a stimulus check. As for the $600 to $700, here's what's being said. Right now, the limit, if you make under $75,000 per year or $150,000 as a couple filing jointly, you would receive a $600 stimulus check. But based on reports, if you make less than $50,000, again, it's not a lot, but you would receive an additional $100. Now, like I said, it's not a lot, but it would help out many people. $100 is considered pretty much just here. Here's a little snack. Here's a little bone. Hopefully you'll be happy. This is barely anything. It's barely anything. It's barely going to cover food for the month for an individual, or in a family, it wouldn't even cover that. So what we do know is this is still a hotly contested topic as to who would qualify. Who would potentially qualify for $600? Who would qualify for $700? Or do we just keep it very simple and all $600, all $700? Again, a likelihood of it coming to $1,200, even $1,000 is almost zero. Nobody's talking about that. So again, these are just the reports, and things could change very quickly in the matter of minutes. The other good news that we know right now is that Congress plans to work through the weekend. That right now, it is being said that their staffers are currently putting together a stopgap bill to be voted on, passed, and hopefully we can get this done where they will work until Sunday and the government would not be shut down. Because the government's supposed to shut down tomorrow at midnight. Well, right now they're working to get this deal done. If this happens and we get a deal done by Sunday, I'm just being optimistic. Let's say Monday at the latest. That's December 21st. We would see stimulus checks before January 1st for about 50 million Americans with direct deposit. That is good news. But let's dive into some of the unemployment benefit news because that is another hotly contested topic as well. We know that unemployment benefits will most likely run until March 31st. That is only 13 weeks. Now, here's what was being discussed was if we are going to do stimulus checks and we're going to include families that have somebody in the family with an ITIN number and we include adult dependents, then we need to take some money from somewhere. Well, they negotiated and figured unemployment benefits would be the best place to start because that's being extended for 4 months. So, what they've agreed upon in principle as of right now is let's take 1 month, so 4 weeks, away from unemployment benefits. It was supposed to end the end of April. Now, it's actually supposed to end after 12 weeks, which would have been the third week. It would be about a week early from March 31st. And then they decided, well, let's just end it on March 31st instead of sometime in like March 23rd, 24th. So right now, it's going to be 13 weeks of unemployment benefits. But if you are part of any of the additional unemployment programs, the pandemic unemployment assistance, anything like that, those programs, you would still get the full 16 weeks. It's only the boost, that $300 per week boost, that is expiring after March 31st. Again, that's the report as of right now. With the United States reporting just today, earlier this morning, that there was 885,000 new jobless claims last week alone. They were actually expected to have, I believe it was 820,000 new jobless claims. So we're about 70,000 claims higher than what was expected. This is not good, and this is why unemployment benefits are considered a vital piece of legislation at this point. Many lawmakers are still asking for more. They do not believe $300 per week is enough. They do not believe 12, 13, or even 16 weeks was enough. They were wanting 6 months. But right now they're saying anything is better than nothing. Now, where is Congress currently being held up? This is one of the things I want to address because until we start to get answers here, everything else doesn't matter. The $25 billion for rental assistance is great. It's a good start. But it doesn't matter if the rest of this bill doesn't get passed. The $82 billion for education funding is great, awesome, will help kids get back in school, but it does absolutely nothing if we cannot pass the bill. The $325 billion for PPP funding, because the most recent reports is saying they are estimating that we're going to do $325 billion for small businesses and PPP funding. Not $300 billion that was reported. So we'll see what happens there. But again, that is being held up due to all these things. So here's what's currently being talked about. There are a few main issues right now, and these are mainly who is eligible for the stimulus checks. What is the requirement, the income requirement? What is the max? And then are people with ITIN numbers going to get a stimulus check, or is it just going to be their family? Will people that are, adult dependents get a stimulus check? As of right now, yes. But will people that have owe back child support, will they receive a stimulus check? Yes or no? We need to address that. And that is what's currently being discussed. How to spend money for healthcare. This is another thing. How do we spend money wisely for healthcare? Do we send money to hospitals so they can do the administering of this vaccine? Or do we send money to the states and local governments and they dictate who gets what? Well, we know Nancy Pelosi would rather the money goes directly to the states and the governors will distribute the money equitably to the various cities. And then they would distribute the money to hospitals and clinics and how they see fit. Mitch McConnell's like, no. We will, issue the money to different hospitals and clinics, and we will dictate how they spend that money. We're not going to let the states do it. We're not going down that road. That's not going to happen. They also are trying to figure out the disaster relief money and winding down the Federal Reserve's emergency lending program. So let's discuss this. First, Democrats are demanding that we don't end the Federal Reserve's emergency lending program because this will hamstring the incoming Biden administration. Well, we already know that Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin took back the $455 billion from the Federal Reserve, and he put that in a fund and is going to spend it on this $748 to $900 billion stimulus package. Okay, great. But Republicans right now are saying that no, that this was supposed to be a temporary fix. The Federal Reserve was only supposed to have this emergency lending program just for a short period of time. This was always supposed to expire at the end of this year. So that's why Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin pulled that money back. He did pull back a little bit early, but he pulled it back. Democrats are saying you're going to hamstring the Biden administration. They will not be able to do as much as the Trump administration was able to do. And Republicans are saying, well, we're not going to provide you with just a long-lasting slush fund. It's not going to happen. Republicans are also trying to dictate how states can spend the FEMA money. And that is in this package. What Democrats are saying is that this should be up to the individual governors. They should be able to choose where these funds are being spent and how much. Well, I get it. Some states, California is always riddled with wildfires. Here in Washington State, we see wildfires all the time as well. Oregon saw a bunch as well. Down the south, you see a lot of hurricanes. You see tornadoes, in the middle of the country. And so this is what is currently being discussed: is should the federal government step in and dictate how FEMA spends their money, or should it be the individual governors? Well, Nancy Pelosi is wanting the individual governors to be able to do this, because then they could actually spend money on different things, what they see as an emergency. So we'll see what happens there. That is a big issue. It's not a lot of money, but it's a big issue. Lawmakers are also negotiating whether or not to include an additional 3 months of federal eviction moratorium. Here's what's being discussed. Right now, we know the federal eviction moratorium will end on December 31st, as of right now. But if this new bill passes, it would actually be kicked down the road a little bit. They'll kick the can down the road 1 month. Well, many people are saying this is supposed to be a 4-month COVID relief package. Let's extend it an additional 3 months. And Democrats say that this needs to be done to avoid a housing and homelessness crisis. But Republicans, on the other hand, are saying that with rental assistance, that should be more than enough to get everybody back on their feet. Republicans are also worried that by extending this federal eviction moratorium, it will hurt many smaller landlords that cannot afford to finance properties on their own. So, these are the current issues that we know of right now that our leaders are currently facing and trying to get past. Reports out this afternoon are stating that neither leader called a session today, likely due to the fact that they were continuing to negotiate the last-minute deal, the last and final terms of this stimulus or COVID relief package. So, that is considered really good news at this point. What we know moving forward today is that they are trying to get further and further in this deal. They're trying to come closer. I believe, based on all the reports that I've been reading, is that we are very, very close. Even though I just listed a handful of things that they are still working on, the reports indicate that they are very close. It's not like we're far apart. We're not like we're billions and billions of dollars apart. We're very close. In some instances, it's not money, it's the language. This is where Nancy Pelosi got hung up before the election. This is kind of where we got hung up again just a couple weeks ago. And this is probably where we're going to get hung up again, and Congress will have to work through this weekend. That's currently what's being reported. But as I know more, I promise I'll share more. Consider subscribing. Also, share this video with your friends, family, and coworkers over on Facebook as well, so they too can stay updated. And I'll see you guys on the next one.